What's up, basement dwellers? Welcome to another Jersey Fanatics. That's 2 in a row. We're really doing things hot here at BPP. Join me as always, Mr. Eric Barezzo.
The World Series sucks.
Very true. And I'm the Dace Man. And the Phillies are currently on vacation. 2 of them enjoying college game day on Saturday rather than playing in Game 2 of the World Series. So that's kind of salt in the wound. I think I saw the image floating around Twitter of Harper hitting home runs, but not in the World Series.
Yeah, he's probably freaking elbow. He should be resting that and not doing that. But that was fun to see that. And then freaking good old Kyle Schwarber acting like the college frat party guy that he is, all dressed up in Hoosier shit. And oh my God, that's exactly what you want to see right now.
He really does look like the South Park incarnation of their Canadians. Like the beady little eyes, the floppy head. Like, they should have Kyle Schwarber as Canada's mascot on South Park.
It makes sense.
Anyway,
absolutely.
We're still in our off-season as the World Series happens. As we're recording right now, Game 3 is happening in the Bronx. Dodgers are leading that series 2-0. Aaron Judge has apparently taken the Phillies playbook and isn't doing shit. And
he's like 7 for 10 or 7 strikeouts and 10 at bats. He's awful right now.
Yeah, I'm sure he would fit very well with the Phillies NLDS team. And Juan Soto's playing like it's a contract year.
Who would have thought?
And then the Dodgers are just essentially showing you that the MLB is more scripted than the WWE. Vince McMahon must have retired from WrestleMania and went over to script baseball.
That's all I see on the Twitter is that Japan has the highest reviews ever because of Yoshi and Shohei, and they're like $16 million or 16 million viewers each World Series game, and they're watching the game at 9 a.m. in Japan compared to like the United States is only at 11 million. There's 16 each game. Like, that just shows you that the freaking World Series sucks here.
Yeah, and that when 2 clothing lines face off in the biggest championship game of the like what everything's building to. Yeah, I think they had a stat out 2 years ago that it was like the most watched playoffs when the Phillies went on that run.
Yeah. But now they say it's this year because of Shohei. The Dodgers and having Yoshi and Shohei.
Yeah, well, okay, take the Japan market out of it. I'm sure they didn't factor a Japan market into it when the Phillies went on a run, and I'm sure people from Japan may have watched. I don't know. It just feels very, I don't want to say coincidental. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but a lot of things fell into place for this to happen.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, number 1, you didn't nab the guy for fucking gambling on baseball after 40 years of hating Pete Rose.
Yep. He should not be playing at all. And then all of a sudden, on Game 2, Shohei dives into second base, and he's wearing a sling today at the game, getting ready to go out there. Like, he allegedly dislocated his shoulder, but you're playing in Game 3, and you're wearing a sling. Like, there's zero way that you're able to swing a bat if you just dislocated your shoulder 2 days ago. Zero shot.
If you can't let gravity do its natural thing where your arm is by your side, I highly doubt you're going to hit dingers.
Yeah, but no, it's perfectly reasonable that he's back in the lineup, back in leadoff spot, no issues, no pain, no nothing. Yeah, 100% believe all of this. Let's just keep writing it. Exactly what you said. Vince McMahon is just coming up with all these weird storylines, and that's all that's coming out right now.
You know, they love is an underdog.
Yeah.
Make him break his arm, even though they're up 2 games. That's Vince McMahon logic. Hulk Hogan doesn't lose, but Hulk Hogan is still somehow the underdog in the 80s.
And saying that they're an underdog when they have a freaking full team of all-stars.
Which is a good segue, because one thing that we're doing here at the Jersey Fanatics is we're on Juan Soto watch, because, you know, that's the pipe dream. We want him in the outfield. Nick Castellanos, Brandon Marsh, Juan Soto outfield seems amazing.
Oh, man, that sounds so bad, though, when you include Marsh in that.
I like Marsh. I know he had like a rough year, but like his rough year It's still better than a lot of the other ones out
I
there.
know, but when you're like, if you look at numbers, yeah, it sounds great, but just saying his name with those two names, it just doesn't sound right.
You're not wrong. But basically, the segue with the Dodgers and obviously the Yankees currently have Soto. It's going to be a bidding war, and apparently the Dodgers are in on Soto, which is fucking mind-boggling considering they have literally all the talent out there.
It's going to be absolutely ridiculous because they're probably going to offer him that stupid contract. Here's $800 million, and we'll give you $2 million over the next 7 years, and then the rest is all deferred. So then he'll leave and go to whatever country he's from too, and completely avoid all the tax too. So it's all a joke, man.
I think that's a benefit in our favor. He's Dominican, right? Or am I just being racist? I'm probably... No, he's Dominican. I was right. It was a good shot in the dark because there's a good percentage of Dominican players, but him being Dominican, maybe he doesn't want to deal with the West Coast bullshit. Like, you know how Japanese players seem to favor West Coast teams because it's closer to Japan? I can tell you from experience, I was working with a client in California and had to go to the Dominican Republic. It's a 12-hour travel day. Like, there's nothing nice about getting to the Dominican Republic from Southern California, especially LA, because I was working in LA. And I had to get to Dominican Republic for a weekend, and it's like, they ain't happening.
For a weekend?
Yeah, I had to go out there for our corporate retreat, and I was in Riverside, California working. And like, all right, fly in on Friday, and then you're going to be back there Monday. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? I'll be traveling all day Friday and all day Sunday to get back there Monday. Because the time difference, the length of the flight. So that may work in our favor. I know it's like a weird fucking stretch to talk about on here of like travel schedule, but I do think that does factor into some decisions. Because look at all the Japanese players seem to favor the West Coast because it's closer to Japan.
Oh, for sure. And he loves Kevin Long, and he loves Trey Turner, and he loves Bryce Harper. So you have three people that he allegedly loves. But then they showed the same thing I think it was in that article about how the Dodgers are interested in him because during the home run derby or the All-Star game, he was hanging out with all of the Dodgers players too. So it's the only team that he didn't hang out with was the Athletics and the White Sox. So it's like everybody, like if you say that you're interested in Juan Soto, you're okay. It's like saying you wake up and lately the sun's out. Like that's how it's been. Like it's blue skies outside. Yeah, that sounds right. Unless you're in Chicago and like, nope, it ain't blue here.
In the White Sox and the Athletics defense, none of them were at the All-Star game. So
wasn't Miller there?
Miller was there, but he had the home run derby.
That's true.
Unless he's throwing the meatballs to somebody.
Yeah.
I do think there's a good chance he lands on an East Coast team. Do we want it to be the Phillies? Of course. Anything to make this roster better. Terrified of the first-year slump that all these guys seem to go through. Terrified of the length of the contract he's probably going to want. Also terrified of like his actual age, because apparently that's a thing. That Pujols
25.
Did, allegedly.
Yeah. Well, that's why it all comes up to that. No one knows how old these players that come from different countries are.
Which is weird. Like I never in my life thought about it. Like it's always a joke in like a comedy movie, like the Benchwarmers, where he had the fucking piece of paper and crown that said I am 5 or whatever. Yeah. But apparently, like I was reading an article where Pujols, they don't know, they're not 100% confident on his age.
Yeah, no, they think he's either like 5 or 10 years older. They don't know like what his true age is, which is insane.
Which is crazy. And it's unfortunate for us white people that our age shows very well on our faces as time goes on.
Very well. Yeah.
We don't have that sweet melatonin that everybody has. Anyway, I do think we're on Juan Soto watch. I do think, personally, I think he ends up on the East Coast. I do think the Yankees are going to be one of the highest bidders. I think the Dodgers will be the highest bidder based on their stupid little let's defer everything. I think that's so stupid. And we probably do a whole podcast on how that Ohtani contract is such bullshit.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It ruins baseball 100%. They're like, if you're going to have a team that is literally stacked with all the all-stars in the game, what the hell is the point for anybody to watch. Like, not even just saying for Phillies fans to watch. What the hell's the point in watching if you're a Kansas City Royals fan? Like, there's zero reason to.
And to a point, and maybe it's not like a team with the Dodgers, but like the Nationals did it with what, Strasburg was his name, was the pitcher who can't pitch anymore, and now they've had some down years because they've got money tied up in this pitcher that can't come out and fucking throw a ball. Not saying it's going to happen to Ohtani, but what if it did? And then again, also at the same pace, the Dodgers could probably still spend, but to these other teams that maybe think about, like, we make the joke about the Athletics and the White Sox since they're like a kind of like a penny pinching team. What if they tried that, and then Soto gets hurt? Oh God, I would not want to be an Athletics fan. You just had 10 years of sadness and sorrow, and you're gonna get another 15 because you're paying for Juan Soto, and we don't want to spend money as it is.
Like, it would make sense, especially for the Athletics. It would make sense for them to go after a massive star because they're going to be opening up the Vegas. Whatever their Coliseum in Vegas is going to be opening up in like 2 years. So it makes sense to have a big star to do that, but they're not going to do it. But
yeah, and I did, like, again, as a Phillies fan, come here. We want you to come here. But think about in 2019 when it was such a shot in the arm for this organization when Harper signed here. Like, we were in that race for him and Machado. I think we won in that deal. But like, if he didn't come to this organization, we're probably not doing a podcast. We're probably miserable. Tickets are probably relatively cheap still. The organization still would have been in like the dark times.
Yeah, you're not getting Trey Turner. You're not getting
JT, maybe.
Yeah, JT. You're probably not getting Wheeler to sign here or get another extension here. Like, you're not doing anything.
I would even bet that Nola would have walked away.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. If he was still doing what he was doing back then, oh yeah, for sure.
So, like, signing a Juan Soto, again, Phillies fan, come here. I'm not going to discount, like, I want all the All-Stars to come here. I want to be the Yankees. I want to be the Dodgers. I want to be that team that signs everybody under the sun. But to an organization like the Athletics or the White Sox, even if you went back to the Nationals, it's a shot in the arm to get them back into it and make baseball fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a weird balance because, again, like I just said, I want to be the Dodgers, I want to be the Yankees, I want to sign up all the talent possible. But if you don't distribute the talent, it's not like yes, Japan cares about the World Series, but I think there's a good portion of America that just doesn't care about the Yankees and the Dodgers. I mean, you have your true hardcore Yankees fans, and I met a couple Dodgers fans out there when I was working in LA, but you've also got the fake ones. And Philly has a good portion of that too, of like, let's hop on they weren't there in 2019 when I went to all 80 games with standing room only tickets.
Yeah, no, they weren't. And they weren't there in 2016 when Ryan Howard tipped his hat for the last time walking off the field. Like, they weren't there.
So there's other like, at least these big markets we're just talking about have those fair weather fans that show back up. Granted, some have more than the others, but you can't get people into the Athletics games up until the fact that they said, hey, we're shutting the stadium down.
Yeah.
Or the White Sox, the same thing. They had 100 people at they did one afternoon game where there was like 100 people in the stands. Like, there was more staff on hand than there were people in the stands. He's an injection into that. Again, come to Philly. I want you to Philly. But I also want to see some distribution there.
Yeah.
All postseason, they talked about the Phillies lineup, the Yankees lineup, the Padres lineup, the Dodgers lineup. 1 through 8 it's incredible. There's teams that you can't name their top 3.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And even then, like, if you name the top 3, that's all they have. Like Kansas City, that's all they had. They couldn't get any further. Even with Detroit.
Yeah.
They didn't have anybody.
I don't think they had a rotation when it came to pitching. Yeah. It was just like, let's just keep running this train till it falls off the fucking rails.
Yeah. It was like Scooble. You got to go out there and you got to throw your Cy Young shit, and hopefully we win that game. And if we don't, You got to do it again in 3 days because you're on short rest.
Yeah, and the whole point of this conversation is, like, again, we're talking about the Juan Soto watch. We'll probably be talking about it all throughout the offseason because he's the hottest free agent right now. And then all the other there's a lot of good other free agents out there, too, for the outfield. Bellinger's back out there again. You got
Teoscar Hernandez.
There was a couple other ones, too. Like, there's a decent outfield to pick from. But Juan's the big fish.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just what brought us to this conversation of, like, spread the wealth is nobody wants to see him in a Dodgers uniform. Nobody. No. Like,
and us being Phillies fans, we don't want to see him in a Mets jersey either.
No, I don't want to see him in any New York jersey. Like, It's weird that, and this is going to hurt from the inside because I've only been a baseball fan, we'll say, for what, 10, 15 years maybe, which actually seems like a long time. But it's always been like, I hate seeing people sign with the Yankees. And now there's been like a shift where it's the Dodgers are what the Yankees were when I first started really following. And it's like, come on.
Yeah, because the Yankees they drove themselves into the ground with all the contracts they were giving out. But it seems like the Dodgers are able to circumvent that with these contracts that they're giving out, especially with the Ohtani one. So hopefully that doesn't become the case when they try and sign Soto. Like, it just, if that happens, like, there's just no reason to watch baseball anymore.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, I'm okay with deferments, but each team should only get one. Like, all right, you did yours on Ohtani, you're not going to do it on Soto. Even though Soto's going to probably be the same price tag, if not a little bit higher. I don't know what the estimate is for him. I think these longevity contracts were friggin' nuts. I think the two we have is kind of holy shit that you went and signed Trey Turner for 13 years. Like,
yeah, I see anywhere for Soto. I've seen anywhere from 500 to 700.
Yeah, and like 14 years or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand why we can't go into these contract conversations of like, hey, I'll give you 5 to 7 years with like an incentive to get the next 5 years after that or something.
Yeah. Like, why can't you do like, I'll give you 7 years at like $65 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just so you don't have them for 13 years.
Yeah. But I do get the players that want to be franchise players. Like Nola's gonna born a Philly, die a Philly with his contracts that he's gotten. Harper is probably gonna retire a Philly. I'm saying probably.
Yeah, I don't know if they re-sign him anymore. I don't know.
I know he was the dumbest one to be asking for it in the offseason, but he was basically hitting it at an extension. It's like, dude, you've been healthy one full year.
Yeah.
And technically, go ahead.
Like you said, he brought so much back to the city, but like, dude, like we got to one World Series and then everyone went cold. He didn't give us anything. Like if he won that World Series, here you go, have everything you want.
And I'm not taking anything away from him, but he wasn't there that whole season.
Yeah,
it was half the season he was out, and then when he came back, he was only a DH.
Yeah.
So you weren't even right. I don't think we got one season out of him at a right field, Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
I don't. Go ahead.
And who knows if he's going to be back to right field when whoever we sign. Like if we sign, I don't know. Not even like what if we sign
Pete Alonso? Not going to happen, but we get the polar bear for some reason.
Yeah, if we sign him, is he going to go back to right field and then Castellanos going to go to left field and then we're going to sign somebody? Teoscar Hernandez is going to go from left field to center field. Like, is it going to be some crazy shit? Like, what? Who knows what's going to happen? But it's
a bunch of what ifs. But I think him making the decision this year to play first base instead of going out into right field, whatever the case, honestly, judging by the end of the season, it was probably the right call because he was showing whatever the fuck was happening with his elbow. Why not have Reese at first? You've strengthened the outfield by putting Harper in right, Casty in left, and then you don't have that weird left black hole hitter that you don't know what you're going to get. You just gamble on Marsh and Rojas, which I think platooning those two wouldn't have been an issue if you have Reese. And I think Reese would have did better if he was in Philly. Just a morale boost for him getting like an extension to stay here. The faith behind him of like, hey, we know you blew your ACL, but we still believe in you as our first baseman. It just seems a little selfish in a way.
I definitely didn't see Bryce Harper going to first base, but I also didn't see him going back to right field, especially when it first came out that he's possibly in play for first base.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel like they were concerned about his arm.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like the end of the year, he couldn't even barely swing the bat without getting in pain.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you didn't push him to go back out there, but like I see your logic in getting he should have been out there because then we could have had Casti over there and everything like would have aligned better.
I think upgrade wise, we could have done for a better price for the power that we were looking for at first base than outfield.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And even right now they say that there's a rumor that the Blue Jays, I don't know if Vlad is a free agent.
I think him and Bo Bichette are.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a rumor that Phillies are interested in him too, and they'll put him at third base instead of being at first base. He'll go back to his natural position. So then you get rid of Bohm. And
all right.
You increase the power there, but you could potentially do exactly what you're talking about. You move Bohm over to first base. You put Harper back in right field. Move Casti to left, and then you can get Teoscar if you maybe that's their backup plan if they fail on Soto. Like you have to have like 12 different plans, you know?
I do think if I'm Dombrowski going into this offseason, I've got my number for Soto. I float that number to Soto. If he says no, I'm moving on. Because you made this point last episode. You can't sit there and keep hoping that he's going to come. Because that's when you start losing out on the Bellingers and Teoscars and all the other, I'm not going to call them B-level players because they are all-stars in their right. Like, you're going to miss out.
What Soto is or what Harper was or what Turner is.
But you're going to end up with another Hayes situation where you're getting... And I like Marsh. I like Rojas defensively. But you're going to get another caliber of that player because teams are going to come in and say, okay, I'm not paying $700 million for Soto, but I'll pay $100 million to get Bellinger for a year or two. And same with Teoscar. Like, I'll pay a couple million to get you for a couple years. Like, we're going to get hurt if we all eggs in the basket for Juan Soto and then don't go. Like, let's say the Yankees come behind us, go, okay, Phillies offer you 700, we're offering you 701, and we go, that's too high. Let's get out of it.
The only thing that you have to hope for is that all these pitchers last year with Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell basically called out Scott Boras, and even Bryce Harper did it at one point. He said that it was just the market dried up too fast and blah, blah, blah. Like he said that they should have signed earlier. So that's kind of taking a shot at Scott Boras. So hopefully it kind of puts a different kind of fire in front of or underneath Scott Boras that he's like, I have to get him signed fast. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it's not going into February like it did with the majority of his players.
I think he gets a little more leeway with the hitters and position players. The pitchers, he screwed. Those pitchers didn't get a chance to get into their warm-ups, to get into spring training. I think, Jordan and Snell both signed basically the week of opening day.
Yeah, it was late, real late.
And they couldn't make starts because they didn't get to ramp up. I think someone like a Soto, especially since he's in the World Series right now, he'll get a little bit more wiggle room to play the market. But
take the vacation and everything.
Yeah, the Phillies cannot be like, all right, 700 is our number. Everybody gives their number, but nobody says what their number was. And then Juan goes, okay, I was offered 750, and the Phillies go, it's February and we're good. And then they look at the market and go, oh, I guess we're re-signing Hayes.
Yeah, and you can't do that like that. You have to have, like I said, you have to have the 12-step process, and Hayes isn't even on the 12 steps. Like there has to be so many errors and problems that happen But even then, like, you have to come out and you have to be honest with the fans that, hey, I went all in on Soto. His market was this. We offered this. Couldn't agree. I went all in on Teoscar. His market was this. This is what we offered. Couldn't agree. Like, you have to do that if you failed at all 12 steps.
And quicker, because they did that with Yoshi, but they did it like 2 months after Yoshi had signed.
Yeah,
where they're like, oh, we gave a higher offer. He just didn't want to play on the East Coast. Like, dude, if you would have just told us out the gate, we would have believed you.
And it was the whole entire fan base is like, oh my God, we're so cheap. And you had people writing articles left and right that the Phillies are reverting back to the old ways of not offering the stars the big money again because they have too many already, blah, blah, blah. And then you come out and say, whoa, hey, we offered him $400 million and we offered him more money and he still went to Dodgers. What do you want us to do?
Yeah, you should say that almost immediately, because when you do it a month or two later, it's like bullshit. You're just saying that because you think that's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Which I do think he's aggressive. Dombrowski seems like a guy that is and plays the cards close to his chest and is aggressive. And then just when he folds, he just doesn't tell you what he had. And that hurts.
The only thing I'm worried about is with him is I'm worried that he's going to have all this pressure in order for this year coming up to be his World Series year. And he's going to get rid of like Bohm for some stupid contract too, or he's going to get rid of Andrew Painter for a year or two rental as well. Like I understand, like, you want to get rid of your young players if you want to win right now, but like there's a certain limit of when you stop. And I'm worried that he's just going to go insane.
Well, I think that's a good segue, because there's a list you sent me this afternoon that I wanted to talk about that was on phillyvoice.com, and you can go check it out there for all the stats. But they went and they polled their readers to see what percentage of fans do not want the players on their roster in 2025. Obviously, Zach Wheeler, 0.6% don't want him to go. So,
who even voted for him to go?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a shining star and a turd of pitching.
Yeah. There's no reason why there should have been one vote.
And he's a pitcher-friendly contract deal. Like, he's only doing a few years at a time because he knows his body, he knows his limits. That's the type of deal I like to give pitchers. Giving Aaron Nola 7 years, I would have no. Bryce Harper, 1.3%. It's going to be kind of hard to get rid of the showman. I think he is the centerpiece, even though we've talked about, like, there's just certain decisions that make you go, huh? Chris Sanchez, 2.4%. He was our Cy Young. I love Wheeler, but Sanchez he proved me wrong. I remember I was pissed off about his extension. Especially since Ranger was, like, fucking lighting the world on fire. It's like, you extended Sanchez over him? What the hell are you thinking? Kerkering is 5.6%. I don't know why. I guess people still have hope for him. He was not crisp in the postseason, so it's
his dad ended up making
a plea,
like an election campaign to keep him on the Phillies.
I don't hate the kid. Honestly, he is. I think one of the questions when looking at this list is, if not them, then who?
Yeah. And
with Orion Kerkering kind of being like a cheap bullpen arm that's I'd say rather consistent. I'm not opposed to that. This one bugs me and will always bug me. Kyle Schwarber with 6.2%. How he's on the low end of the spectrum after his piss poor postseason performances when they needed him.
Because chicks dig the long ball, bud.
Beady little eyes. Fucking. Glad he had fun at game day. I don't want him gone, but this is contract year. This should be a phenomenal year, and maybe that's what factored into the low rating of like, hey, he's gonna want to prove for either an extension or the next team he's on to. But rather surprised he's 6.2. Aaron Nola, 6.2 as well. This was the the good year in the roller coaster?
Allegedly.
Yeah. So I would have wanted him gone next year because apparently we're on that downslope.
I've been wanting him gone for years.
He was this extension. He was the first signing of free agency where we were aggressive and went, and he took lower money.
I knew right then and there we weren't going to win the World Series.
We weren't serious. He's a good number 3. Expensive number 3, but a good number 3. I think he was our third in our rotation this year. So here's a controversial one to me is Bryson Stott with 18.3. If not him, then who? And I know who the big free agent is for that position, who's currently playing first in San Diego. Yeah. I just think he had a down year. I don't think that's reflective of what he's going to be consistently. He just had a baby.
I mean, you hope not, because you thought the same exact thing about Kingery when he was up here. He looked amazing. They offered him the contract, and then all of a sudden he sucked for the remaining time that he was up here.
I blame the organization on that one. They Gabe Kapler and them bouncing him all around. They didn't let him be him
every day.
I know you will, and probably somehow Knapp. Knapp was in his ear and said, "You know what? I think Kingery would be great if you put him in center field."
He told him to look at the scoreboard every time he struck out. Bro. He said, "Dude, look at that. That's a brand new scoreboard. You got to stare at that." Bro, the fans are going to love you when you do that.
They're going to extend that billboard in a few years. Just imagine all that space to see your face even frownier. I skipped one. Ranger Suarez was 12.6%.
Which is a big jump going from Aaron Nola to Suarez. Nola was 6.2, and then you go to 12.6. That's a big freaking jump.
So this is his contract year too, isn't it?
Dude, I have no idea with his contract, because every time I look at it, it says that there's years left, and then all of a sudden there's not. I don't know what. I've tried to. Maybe I'm just too much of an idiot to understand his contract, or maybe I'm just not looking at it right. But it doesn't make much sense. But yes, I think it is the contract year. But I don't know.
If he can figure out longevity, he can stay.
And get rid of his family.
I mean, you keep pushing that note. Maybe he'll get used to it in the offseason, since now he has so much fucking time to spend with them, since they didn't go that far into the postseason.
I'm just saying, ever since they came up here, he sucked. There's only so many times a man can, fool around before he gets worn out.
I don't know if he just overdid it in the first half, trying to prove something, because he did taper off in 23, and I would even say 2022, but not as hard as he did this year. And to me, that's not a good sign.
Because he was all pent up, man. And then she came, and he came. Just too many times. It was just too much.
You think it's a sex thing. I think it's a kid's thing. He's tired because now he doesn't get to have sleep. Get it.
Way. Whatever way. Either way, the family's ruining him.
So now here's where I'm gonna tell you that the readers of the Philly Voice are fucking morons. Nick Castellanos at 28.6%. You want the guy that gave you the win in the postseason and carried your ass to keep you in any of those games in the postseason, and let alone the guy that carried you the second half when all your all-stars went to fucking sleep. You want him off the team?
And had a almost 400 or even an even 400 batting average in the postseason. Come on, dude. It's so stupid. Just because you're sick and tired of him swinging at pitches out of the zone, he carried you the last half.
He has never not swung at all the pitches. It's what he bought. If you liked him when they signed him, that's what you bought. Yeah. And the fact that you liked him when he was an all-star in 2023, that's what you bought. And that you give a pass to a man that you call Mr. June, because your only expectation is for him to fucking produce in June.
Schwarberfest.
Just because the man will sell his soul to any fucking organization that'll give him money for a sponsorship. Cure Auto. Wawa. Yeah. I think I just saw him for an ad. He did Adobe. That man can't Photoshop.
He doesn't even know what a hoagie is. He
no.
always calls them subs.
Yeah, or Heroes, because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
With beady little eyes, or whatever Canadians call sandwiches.
What do the Bostonians call them? Are they subs? Or are they heroes too?
I think they might call them. I think they call them subs.
Okay, I thought there was something weird up there too.
Yeah, I think they're subs. Heroes are, I think, a Midwest. Thing.
Well, then he went to Indiana, so it's probably the same thing out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure he loves those sausage, pepper, and onion sandwiches. The big fucking sausage in his mouth. Fucking dildo. I don't want to hate him, but when you want Nick Castellanos off the team over him, he can't play field. Like, you're telling me there's not a better. I told you when we started this list. If not them, then who? And yes, you can make an argument this year that there's a lot of outfielders that are available, but you're not going to even consider there's a better designated hitter out there.
I don't know. I don't think that can hit for power like he can.
But could play a position. Could you imagine having a designated hitter that could swap in and out with JT, who's next on our list, to give JT some time off, where JT could just be a DH?
It would have been that dude from the Athletics. When we played them, it was supposed to be, I forget his name now, Rooker, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you play catcher?
Huh?
You play catcher?
No, I'm saying for outfield. Like he was supposed to be the guy that wasn't supposed to leave our city because of during the trade deadline. It was supposed to be him and Miller. And I'm telling you, if we probably got both of them, we probably would be in the World Series right now.
Like, to the point, I don't want to keep harping on the Schwarber thing, but versatility is a big thing in my book. You look at the Braves, they had d'Arnaud and Murphy. I'm not saying d'Arnaud is the best fucking catcher on the planet, but to give Murphy time off, and when Murphy had an injury, d'Arnaud is a good backup.
Yeah. And he hit that home run against us.
Yeah, the Brewers had Contreras and whoever the hell their backup catcher was, to the point where Contreras could still DH. Yeah. So you didn't lose his offense. Like, we don't have that at our DH spot. It's like, oh, let's put Schwarber out in left field. The first fucking time he played left field, he pulled his groin and was out for 2 weeks. And you want him to stay on the team.
Yeah.
Over Nick Castellanos that could play right field, had to play right field, and only got to DH, twice? Because, God forbid you put Schwarber in the outfield, he's going to pull his groin. Like, it's the versatility is just not there, man. And I hate that.
4 times as many people want him gone than Schwarber.
Yeah, I want to go on record saying I want either of them gone. But if you're going to put them side by side, they need to be equal. They both got to get the fuck out. Because to me, Schwarber not having that versatility of being able to, he can't. Like, there's so many highlights of how bad he is at any fucking position he touched. The bobbles at first base when he tried first base. Didn't he start as a catcher? And all of a sudden you're in left field? Like, you are an awful... Like, how you made it in MLB when they didn't have...
Power, man. Power.
But they didn't have designated hitters in the National League. And he bounced around the National League like crazy.
You just dealt with the power. That's all you cared about.
But you couldn't even hide him at first base. Like, that's where you hide the power where they can't field. And he couldn't fucking do it. And he doesn't have his defender here on the show tonight, so I'm gonna back off now. But for all you morons that are reading the Philly Voice and voted Nick Castellanos has to go, you are just that, morons. And no way, which way around it. I respect everybody else's votes except yours. Next on the list, JT Realmuto, 31.8%. This is the one that I really, when I say, if not him, then who?
Yeah, this is exactly that definition right there, because there's not much out there at all.
You want Salvador Perez? That guy's like 80.
Yeah, exactly. Who just won the Roberto Clemente award.
Yeah, that's a participation trophy. Like, hey, thanks for being in the league, man. We respect that you've been here a long time, and this is the award we're going to give you because you can't be a Silver Slugger or a Gold Glove anymore.
Yeah. No shot. So, unfortunately, I think this is his contract year as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you're probably going to re-sign him because there's nobody else out there because you can't depend on Marchand because he's going to get injured just signing the contract.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just he doesn't have the pop that he does. But you got to bring in a backup, like you said, in order to help him get days off because he's led the league in innings caught and all sorts of stuff that like means everything to catchers, and he's number one on all that top list, but he's never able to get a day off. So,
and that's where I hearken it back to if we had a more versatile DH. Like if Kyle Schwarber goes into this offseason and works on his fielding, wherever the fuck he wants to work on it at, where you can give JT his at-bat still, but don't give him, like you could put a catcher behind the mound more often.
But see, I don't think Thompson would do that at all anyway, because when he designates his guys to get the day off, they have the day off, and they're not going to be DHs.
It's more so of I think Garrett's biggest problem was consistency. When you have a guy like JT who's going to play 5 out of the 6 games a week, you don't get as many at bats, so you don't get to see as many pitches. Your numbers look worse because, like, if you fall into a hole and you can't get out of that hole, you're beat.
Yeah.
If you had a way to slide JT out of the catcher spot to say, all right, you catch 3 days a week, you bat 5, and I can put this person behind the plate to catch, to give your knees a rest, and get them at bats, while like Schwarber was a decent left. Like, just imagine if Schwarber could actually play left well enough that you didn't have to think defensively.
Yeah, it didn't look like donut running.
Yeah, you could have put Garrett into more games, and I'm sure fans would have been fucking pissed. But JT could have DH'd more, especially when he had his knee surgery of like, hey, maybe don't start catching day 1 when you're back.
Yeah, yep.
Again, I don't want Schwarber. The big 5 stars I don't want off the team. I'm just going to go on record as saying that. Actually, I don't want most of the team to change as it is. I think there's a couple spots to tweak, but if not JT, then who?
Yep.
Next on the list, it's ironic. Trey Turner with 33.4%, just as his Netflix documentary drops, which is a tough watch. Did you watch it?
I did not, because I refused to.
I watched the first 5 minutes and was like, this guy's yeah. I just couldn't. He's Philly. That boy is Philly that they were following. If not Trey, who? All shortstops are currently locked up. Bo had a terrible fucking season.
Yeah. I think he was injured for majority of the year too. But yeah, you're not going to get rid of him. You know, he's under contract for another 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I don't even think he did that bad. Like, didn't he have like a 296 for the year?
He had a really good average. He just, it sucked when it came time to playoff time.
Which the whole team did. So at that point, flush the whole team, except for Nick Castellanos, you sons of bitches. Like, if we're going after stats, fuck you. The only complaint I have against Trey is, and I didn't follow him enough before he got here, defensively, he is not as good as I thought he was.
Yeah, no, that's the issue. He was very good defensively, especially back in his Nationals day. Well, obviously, he was younger and more spry. But, yeah, he was just night and day what he was then to now.
And it's not even like he's got a bad partner. He's been just not stopping the ball right.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, he keeps throwing it to second or throwing to Stott or throwing it to Harper. They just keep messing it up. It's more of like, why didn't Trey stop that?
Yeah.
33.4% seems very high for a guy you've got for 11 more years. That seems rough.
Very high. Yep. It's a majority, or not a majority, but a high minority for fans that don't want you back. That's pretty rough.
Next up on our list, Alec Boehm, third base, 33.9%. I honestly think it's just because of his behavior outside of baseball. Like, not outside of it, but how he acts when shit hits the fan.
It's become too much. Like, everyone was back. Like, he had the incident of saying, I fucking hate this place. Honestly, majority of fans do too. So we get it. But then, like, he was back. We rallied around him. Everything was fine. and then you're going to mope because you had an 0 for 5 game and everyone else had like a 4 for 5 game. Like, you were bitching and complaining about that when everyone else had your back. Like, nah, dude.
It just, whatever happened to him in August, which I don't think was a baseball thing, and we've talked about this on the show, it got in his head and never left. So whoever moved into his head was rent-free, didn't get out of his head, and it showed every single... Like, Rob Thompson doesn't chase people down into the walkway. What did you do to get a Canadian angry at you?
Exactly.
This man has had plenty of opportunities where he should be legitimately fucking pissed, and he went after you. What did you do? The only time I was okay with his emotion was the final out he got, where that foul ball was not a foul ball, but at that point, the season was cooked. You can't even hang your hat on like, oh, that's why we lost the series. No, the fucking season was cooked.
Yeah.
It's weird to say it to a grown man, but you got to grow up.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. He's like the epitome of when you say that.
Yeah, I think if he grows up, he's Mike Schmidt caliber to be like this generation's third baseman. Like I firmly believe that Philadelphia wants to get behind him. And
absolutely, because they know what he can do if he just shows up.
Yeah, and he up until August, man, he was the man. He aside from Castellanos really carrying us after the All-Star break, he was carrying us. And then all of a sudden, something happened in August. They said the whole hand thing, which I thought was fucking weird. And then his just attitude after that of like, I don't know, maybe he did get dumped. Maybe he jerked off too hard. That's why his hand hurt. And then he just couldn't get out of his feelings. Play some emo music this Christmas. Get over it, pal, and come out swinging. I don't want you gone. But a third of the fucking Philadelphia tri-state area wants you gone.
I was waiting to hear, like, after the season ended, there was going to be Alec Boehm is requiring surgery on his hand, who's dealt with it all. Like, I was waiting for something. I still am, like, because they took forever last time. I think it was with, was it Harper? That all of a sudden, like, it was like a month or two after the season ended, and, like, all of a sudden it came out and said he ended up getting surgery.
Yeah, it was one of the stars where they're like, oh, he'll be ready for opening day, but he's not going to be at spring training. It's like, what? Where did this come from? I think the only thing you hear is about broken heart surgery, either from Brandon Marsh officially moving on from him or whoever broke the female that broke his heart. Speaking of Brandon Marsh, about 40% of Philadelphia wants him gone. I think it's dumb. He has been the only trade deadline acquisition I liked.
Well, I agree with that. Like, he's been a great trade deadline acquisition, but I think there are people that you can say, if not him, who. Like, I think you can go Teoscar Hernandez. I think you can go even the Rooker guy from Athletics. Like, you get the power. Like, there's people that you can say that too.
The only downside to his trade is he was Logan, right?
Logan O'Hoppe, yeah.
Well, imagine that was your backup catcher.
Yeah. Yep. And then you wouldn't have to worry about what's going to happen after this year. You have it. But that's the thing that you have to not care about is when you trade your prospects.
Mm-hmm.
You can't look at all that because that's what we did when we traded for JT Realmuto with Sixto Sanchez. We're like, oh, we can't get rid of him. He's going to be the next Pedro Martinez, and the dude hasn't been in the league since.
Nope, he's the next Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite. That's about it. I like Marshy. I'm high on Marshy. If we get like a stellar additional outfielder, I'm okay with him playing center. Him and Rojas platooning. If Rojas is next on the list with almost 50%, 48.5% want him gone. Everybody keeps bashing him for his offense. You shouldn't have to worry about his offense. Larry Bowa said it best at the beginning of the season. If you're worrying about our 9-hole hitters offense, what are the other 8 doing wrong?
Yep. And that's why everyone's worried about his offense, because the other 8 suck.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely fair given the way the NLDS went, but defensively, if you could get the offense where it needs to be for the entire year, and that's a hell of a gamble because you don't know where you're going to be in the postseason because you're starting out in March.
Yeah, even with like when he came back, like for spring training last year, he had like 15 pounds of muscle put on, and you're like, oh shit, man, the dude's been working out. He's gonna put up some offensive numbers, and like they went up, but you can only go up from what you were last year. Like you can't get any worse.
Yeah, and it's a shame. I do think a change of scenery for him will help him out a whole hell of a lot, and we're gonna like hate ourselves for letting him go. But I don't think this relationship is meant to last. And it sucks because I like him defensively. I hate he's just getting lost in the shuffle in a way and getting a lot of the blame because our stars aren't being stars.
Yeah. Yep.
Next up is, I don't know why it was out of sequence, but Rob Thompson with 42.1%. We talked about this last week. Is it really his fault?
It's not, but I still want him gone.
Completely fair. And then to cap off this week's episode, it's more of a question of what the fuck was the other 9% thinking? Taijuan Walker with 91%. How is this not unanimous? If like I get democracy and everything, I know we're up on the political week, like elections next week, but we're looking at this and you can't get 100% to get rid of the worst pitcher in Major League Baseball.
There's no way to describe him other than exactly what you just said. He's the worst pitcher in baseball. Like he had nothing going on for him at all this whole entire year. You tried to shove him in the starting rotation, sucked. Tried to put him in the relief role, sucked. Tried to put him on the freaking banister to slap people's asses as going in and out. He missed everyone. Like
he ball tapped them, and then they sucked at batting.
Yeah, it's just all his fault. Like he's the one that screwed up the NLDS. Like I blame him entirely. It's not Rob Thompson's fault. It's his. You
need a scapegoat. He's right there looking at you right in the eye after 9 chances at starting, and he went, you know what? I'm going to give him a 10th.
And they won't get rid of him.
Won't get rid of him. That is the I made a bad investment. I'm going to show you that this investment's going nowhere. I paid all that money. He's staying. I don't care what you said. I didn't care if you told me not to buy it. I bought it, and he's staying.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with it.
Yep.
But I am very curious at the 9% that were okay with him staying. Maybe the 9% didn't know who he was. I'm like, hey, I like that bat boy. He's pretty good.
Let's appeal to that 9%. And if you're the one that voted on the phillyvoice.com for Taijuan Walker to stay, please reach out to me on Twitter and let's figure out why.
I do think it's very interesting. They also went through and they formatted the question about the Phillies bench and the bullpen a little differently, and they asked the readers to vote which of the players they most want to return for a bench piece. The top 5, and I'll just leading the way is Edmundo Sosa. I do think he's a good pickup. I do think he's a good bench player. He's one of the only guys who's proven he can come off the bench and play. 24.4%. Marchand. And I think that's just mainly fueled by Garrett Stubbs' hatred.
Mm-hmm.
Cody Clemens. Go ahead.
Garrett Stubbs is at 3.5%. People want back.
Yeah, yeah, it's a shame. I like Stubby. I think he got a roll under the deal with having such a headstrong JT. JT's a robot. God.
I think his downfall was talking about the pool in Arizona. Like, I think everyone can't move past that, and I am one of them.
No, you can't blame the pool because everybody blames the goddamn song. They blame the goddamn pool, and they got rid of all that, and they just did worse.
You gotta find a reason why, and it's on all 3 teams. Garrett Stubbs,
and so is Bryce Harper. I'm just saying. A non-full healthy Bryce Harper who's played 5 out of his 10-year or 11-year deal and he's always going, my elbow, tinnitus, whatever the fuck he's got. Cody Clemens came in 3rd with 21%. I think he is phenomenal. I hope Cody's going to get screwed by friggin' options. Weston Wilson, good pickup. I mean, he hit for the cycle. Be a damn shame if he went and played for somebody else and we got to go, oh, God damn it, someone's got to beat the cycle again. Austin Hayes, but it's at 5.4%.
It's a massive drop.
Yeah, Weston Wilson was 18.9, and it jumps down to Hayes at 5.4. And then just to list them, they're all below 5%. Garrett Stubbs 3.5, Cal Stevenson at 3.3, Buddy Kennedy at 2.2. Those are guys with solid whole numbers. The rest of them, well, position player-wise, Castro got a 0.3. I don't know if people remembered he was on the team.
He's been down in Clearwater trying to swing a bat, just trying to learn how to hit a ball. He's in the majors and he has no idea how to hit a ball, and 0.3% want him to come back. Why?
It was him. He voted for himself. He's like, I gotta get on. Like, people don't know I'm here. I gotta get on the list because you don't have Dahl on here. You don't have any of the other guys that played out throughout the year because we have, 12 different outfielders at one point?
Yeah.
He didn't even make it to the majors this year. And he's like, I'm going to vote for me so people remember I'm here. Derek Hall's not on this list. That was a prominent name in 2023.
Yeah, for sure.
Scotty Jetpacks, who we talk about every goddamn week. He's not on this list.
R.I.P.
You know it was Castro who voted for himself to keep himself relevant.
It's the only way.
He's got his phone on him at all times.
Just like the 9%. He has the phone on him. Just like the 9% for Taijuan Walker. They did it for each other.
It's all the fake accounts. And then the bullpen just got ravaged. Nobody got above 20%. A lot of people, and I'm thankful for this, Strami, 17.5% led the pack. Jeff Hoffman with 14.2%, and those are the two that I would want back.
Hoffman's a free agent, so he's going to...
Yeah. Strom has another year, so we were getting him regardless. Alvarado, surprisingly, at 10.8. Guy who only showed up for, one inning in the postseason and fell apart after whatever happened. And he's another one I think something was in his head because the whole Venezuela thing. Surprisingly, Spencer Turnbull. I don't think he's worth the money.
Yeah, you didn't see him the whole entire year, and that's what people want. They want to know what could have been.
But not at that price tag.
Yeah, no.
All right, buddy, you already proved that you can't stay healthy for a whole year. We'll bring you back again, but not for that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that was, but the fact that he didn't make it the whole year. Jose Ruiz. I liked him.
Oh, he was amazing.
I just think that's a case of people didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
They probably there was another Jose. Tanner Banks, indifferent. Yeah. Carlos Estevez.
See ya, dude. I'm done with the fucking Hayukin shit.
It's Kameo Wave, okay? It's a Dragon Ball Z reference, and that gives him bonus points for me because that's the only anime I watch. He has the stank of being the Lindor Grand Slam. And he could have been... Stink, man. I know, but he could have been shut out every fucking appearance he made before that. But the fact that he was the Grand Slam in the game we lost that got us eliminated, he never stood a chance of coming back.
And there was zero reason for him to be in that game at that time.
Again, could have been shut out all the way up to that. He could have been the guy. He's our only reliable bullpen guy in the postseason. Let's put him out there. That Grand Slam would have just buried him here, regardless.
Yep.
Tyler Phillips. I think he got a raw deal. I think this whole up and down bullshit really fucks with starters.
Yeah.
Colby Allard, same thing. Up and down bullshit, I think, messed with him because he was doing well, and then he went, all right, we're going to give Taijuan his 8th chance. And Junior Marte, who I forgot was on the team. But was there a lot.
1.2% didn't.
Again, might have been Junior. Made a deal with Castro of I'll vote for you if you vote for me, and then didn't vote for Castro.
He has good stuff, but he just has zero command. He's kind of like Alvarado.
And you can't have two of those.
Yeah, and people seem to pick him apart real fast after they figure him out.
Mm-hmm.
So but he had really good stuff. It just didn't last long at all.
All right, well, we'll be talking more off-season stuff as the winter progresses. When we come back, the World Series will be over by then, and we'll be able to start making deals, and we'll either be really pissed off or not. But that's going to do it for us this week on the Jersey Fanatics. Mr. Barroso, do you have anything to plug?
I do not.
I got a lot to plug because we have multiple shows running now. We've got here the Jersey Fanatics, the only mainstay that has somehow lasted since BPP started and is still going. We'll be dropping.
Even though one of our reporters is on assignment for permanent.
Yeah. You know, everybody hurts. This drops every Wednesday. Every Thursday is the weekly protocol, a new show by Basement Protocol, where we kind of give you the protocol by every topic. So the first episode's out there. It's about airports, and our second episode, which will be dropping tomorrow if you're listening to this, is about Halloween.
The airport episode is fantastic,
Thank
but you can't use Cheever as a voiceover.
Hey, you're first. So if he is the voiceover for Halloween, just
Turn it
know
up very loud.
We got Dace-tacular Mind episodes dropping again. And speaking of the guy, the voice you don't want to hear, Cheever will be our first guest this Friday. And then
Great segue.
the following Friday will be Carissa LaCava, and we'll be talking one-on-one. You got to hear my shit for 3 years. Now I'm going to start talking to other people to hear their shit. And their stuff isn't shit. My shit was shit. Their stuff is interesting. Listen, especially Cheever, because he's the first guest that Eric married like that. But we got we got content pumping out. We got the Jersey Fanatics, the weekly protocol, a Dace-tacular Mind, the Dace-tacular people, and then the Game-a-thon, April 25th to the 27th. All information we found at basementprotocolproductions.com. Next week, we'll be doing a Jersey Fanatics focus. We'll be talking Zach Wheeler because yours truly will be in Costa Rica, unfortunately. So we're going to be getting that in the pipeline. And then when we come back the following week, hopefully we'll be talking about Juan Soto is now a Philly. It's a pipe dream. It's a pipe dream.
Very much so.
It's possible.
But I'm gonna keep on saying that I'm gonna keep on trying to get our AOE stream started, our test stream. So I'm gonna keep on saying we're on it.
The good thing is, once I get past this Costa Rica bullshit, I personally should be able to get back into streaming because I'll have a more consistent schedule. This Costa Rica bullshit has kind of been making me like, I don't want to start and then have to stop. So keep an eye out. Streamers are coming back. Cheever streams every once in a while. Again, got buried at the beginning of the plugs, but he is out there streaming. Travis Goss has been streaming on Facebook Live. You can find him at Game of Travis.
There's a voice you can listen to.
Yeah, and I believe Jarrett might be getting back into it at Jarrett Games. So our streamers are getting back into it and just in time for the Game-a-thon. But that's been the Jersey Fanatics. I've been Chris the Dace Man Dace. He's been Erik Barroso.
Let's go, Phils.
Let's ring that bell, and we'll see you next week.
Ring a ding ding.